Hi, this is Laryssa Nilsson. I'm a team leader with Usborne Books and More, and I'm here on my reading rug today to answer the literacy question, how should I be storing my books in my house so that my kids want to pick them up and play with them and read them? It's a great question because we all know that having books in the home is what makes a child love to read, but it's not just having the books in the home. Children need to be regularly interacting with the books. So it's something to think about. Where are the children's books in your home, and are they located in such a way and in such a place that make them accessible to your readers, whether your readers are crawling little babies or whether they're older children? I'm going to share 3 tips with you today, and you can find a few more tips typed out at myreadingrug.com. My first tip for you is to store your books in such a way that the covers are facing outward. And this applies especially if you have babies and younger children, but it really is true for older children as well. And if you think about the books that maybe you've grabbed recently at the library, there's a good chance that they were the ones that the librarian took the time to face outwards. So when covers are facing outwards, they're just more exciting than the book spines. Book spines look nice all in a row, but the covers are what are going to draw your child to the book. I also find that when children are using bookshelves, that it can be very challenging for them to get the books off, and especially for them to get the books back on. So that's why I always recommend to families that they store books in bins, just like this. It's easy to get them in and out. It shows the covers outward. You can put them on the floor, which makes them a nice height and accessible to the child. And it just gives a lot of eye candy and appeal, which makes the child more likely to go over and grab a book. So while bookshelves are okay, my real preference for storing books is to use bins, or to use the type of bookshelves where the books drop in and you can still see the covers. Because when you can see the cover of a good book, it's hard to resist the urge to pick it up. My second piece of advice about storing the books in your home is to think about which rooms you have children's books in right now. Odds are good that you probably have them in your child's bedroom, and maybe some in the living room as well. And those are good places to have books. But I want you to think a little further, and anywhere where you want your child to read, you should have books right there where they can just pick them up. So yes, living room and bedroom are the obvious choices there, but if you want your child to read at the breakfast table, then there needs to be books right there at the breakfast table. If you want your child to read in the car, then think through putting some books in the car. If you want your child to read in the bathroom, then it doesn't hurt to have some books in the bathroom as well. I know my kids tend to follow me wherever I go and kind of hang out in whatever room I'm hanging out in. So yes, that means sometimes we have books in the kitchen in bins, so that when they're hanging out in the kitchen while I'm cooking, they can grab a book and sit and look at it. This is also true for my bedroom or the laundry room, because they just tend to follow me in there. So sometimes I like to keep books in there so that while they're in there, they have something to look at that's going to promote their literacy and their reading. And even within a room, try to think through where the books are in relation to where you're going to do the reading, or where the child's going to do the reading. In our living room, we have one big chair that I'm always sitting in the mornings, and more often than not, a child comes and ends up in my lap. And I have our bin for our library books right there, where I can grab a book without even getting out of the chair. And that's very intentional, because that's how those reading moments happen. If we have to get up or we have to find a book and sit back down, we're more likely not to do it. But when I can reach over and grab a book that's already positioned right by the chair, then the read alouds happen. And my final piece of advice for how to store and display the books in your home to make your children want to read them is to regularly rotate your book collection and move things around and clean it out. I think in the same way that you rotate your children's clothes for different seasons or for their growth, you should be doing the same thing with their books. It doesn't have to take long, but periodically take an hour and look through the books. Maybe take some that are upstairs and put them downstairs. Even within the bins, rotate them around a little bit so that a new cover is in the front. And if any books have gotten too babyish or outgrown, go ahead and take them off the shelves and put on something new. But doing this keeps their interest in returning to the shelves to find good books. And often I find a book that I've moved to the front of the bin is the one that gets grabbed because it suddenly looks new and exciting, and it was just being overlooked where it previously was. I hope that gives you some new ideas for ways that you should be storing and displaying the books in your home. As much as possible, we want those books accessible and engaging to our future readers and to our current readers who need to be plowing through as many books as possible.